Students and staff at Memorial High School in Frisco will remember a student stabbed to death at a track meet.
The victim's father says his son died in the arms of his twin brother.
Have y'all heard about this case? Hi everyone, welcome back to True Crime List with me, Alyssa. If you are new, welcome. Glad you are here. Y'all, this case is all over the media right now, and as I was reading through all these articles and watching videos, I was like, I need more information. First of all, who are these people, more like kids, that are involved? What are their stories, their upbringings? Why did this happen? Was it premeditated? I mean, the list goes on. So I thought I would consolidate all the details I could find about this case so far as of me filming this and put it in one place for you. But this is definitely one that we are going to stay up to date on here on my channel as more information comes out. So make sure to stay tuned for when additional videos come out. With that to say, let's start by getting to know who Austin was. Austin Metcalf was born in July of 2007 to his parents Jeffrey and Megan Metcalf and was known to be a bright and beautiful young soul from an early age. Austin was said to be one of those people who just lit up every room he walked into. His laugh was contagious and he had such a kind, gentle vibe that made everyone feel comfortable around him. He and his identical twin brother, Hunter, were super close, more than just brothers really. They were best friends and had a bond that was really special. I mean, they not only entered this world together, but they have spent every second growing up together almost as if they were one. His dad, Jeff, even stated that they were not prepared when they found out they were having twins. I mean, who is? But I mean, all he could think of was how they were going to have to get two of basically everything. 2 cars, 2 college tuitions, 2 of quite literally everything. But when it came to that day when Austin and Hunter were born, he says it was the happiest day of his life. And I've wondered, do parents of identical twins even get confused on who is who? And Jeff stated that he would actually use black Sharpie to fill in one of Austin's toenails to help identify him. But anyway, although Austin was only just a few minutes older than Hunter, he really took on the role of being a big brother. Since Austin was a kid, he was just pure joy. Those around him could tell right away that he was genuine and kind-hearted, like the kind of person you could always count on, to the point where he would drop everything to help someone, no questions asked. And on top of that, he was hilarious. He had this way of making everyone laugh, even on a bad day. Austin was outgoing and spontaneous, always doing something unexpected, but in the best way. He also loved being outdoors, especially hunting and fishing with his dad, Jeff, and Hunter, his brother. They made so many memories out there together. It was a really special bond. Austin even shot his first hog this year and was so proud of it. I mean, you guys, it really seems like Austin was one of the kindest people you could meet. He had big dreams and brought so much joy and warmth into the lives of everyone who knew him. This leads us to this year in 2025 when Austin was a junior at Memorial High School in Frisco, Texas, which, if you don't know, Frisco is part of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, making it about 25 miles north of Dallas. And for the most part, Frisco is known to be a safe place to live. Now, Austin was really involved in church, where he went to Hope students and was at Hope Fellowship East every week on Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings, and his faith meant a lot to him. In addition, sports were also a huge part of his life. From the time he was little, he was fearless and just naturally talented at whatever sport he tried. But it wasn't just talent, he worked insanely hard to be the best. Once he found football, that was it. He loved the game with everything he had and was determined to play in college and even maybe beyond that in a professional manner. He never let go of that dream, so when he entered high school, he would go on to play linebacker for the Memorial High football team. Besides being an honor roll student with a 4.0 GPA, Austin was voted team MVP by his coach and players. I mean, he was loved on and off the field. Outside of football, Austin was also on the high school track and field team where he was working to increase his speed. This leads us to April 2nd of this year of 2025, where there was a district championship track meet at Frisco Independent School District Stadium where multiple schools in the district were competing. Now, I ran track in high school, so I'm pretty familiar with how these competitions are laid out, but if you didn't know, each school typically has a tent or an easy up that has their school name on it or a color that represents the school. And this basically helps students easily identify where the team is sitting together in the stadium. And then also the parents, family, friends will typically sit nearby, not always, but generally you know where the team is up on the stadium. Austin, 17 years old at this point, a junior at Frisco Memorial High School, arrived to the track meet that morning, found his high school tent in the stadium, met with his coach and other teammates, and probably thought this was just going to be another typical track meet day, maybe even hit some PRs. But unfortunately, something very unexpected happened. At around 10 a.m., Austin appeared to be having a verbal altercation with a student from another school named Karmelo Anthony. This allegedly started when Austin and other teammates heard someone behind them mouthing off. When they turned around, Austin asked Karmelo, "Who are you?" And he responded, "I'm Mello." This is when Austin told Karmelo to move out from under their team's tent because they could see he was wearing a Centennial tracksuit. So again, like I had just been discussing, usually all the different high schools will have their tents set up in the stadium so all the teammates know where their team is. Now, although students will typically only sit under their team's tent, there are instances where students will be friends with other students from different high schools, and sometimes you will see them sitting together. However, it appeared that maybe this wasn't the case with Karmelo because Austin confronted him and told him he had to leave the tent because he did not go to Memorial. The two were then heard going back and forth about this seating arrangement, but this is when the conversation really started to get heated when Karmelo grabbed his bag, opened it, reached inside, and proceeded to tell Austin, "Touch me and see what happens." But you guys, no one really thought Karmelo actually had any weapons in his bag. It seemed like they maybe just thought it was a fabricated threat to get them to stop talking to him. At this point, Austin stood up and proceeded to lay his hands on Karmelo to get him out of the tent. Karmelo then told Austin to punch him and see what happens, but Austin still proceeded to grab Karmelo and told him to move. Quickly after is when Karmelo would pull out a black knife, then proceeded to stab Austin once in the chest. Upon fleeing the scene, Karmelo threw the knife in the bleachers and ran away to the north side of the field. Now you can imagine at this point, everyone around was probably frantic, trying to figure out how bad Austin's injuries were, calling for help, calling the police. I can only assume what was going through everyone's mind. Not to mention, Austin's twin brother was there when this happened, but Hunter stated that it happened so fast that when he whipped around, Austin had already been stabbed. So he didn't actually see the act, but he obviously heard the altercation, but literally it happened so fast that it was like he turned around and all of a sudden his brother was injured. Immediately after, Hunter rushed to try and stop the bleeding. When first responders arrived to the scene, they performed CPR and administered blood. And while this is all going on, it was downpouring rain. So everyone that was trying to help Austin was huddled underneath Memorial's tent. Austin was then transported to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead at 10:53 a.m. But his dad, Jeff, said that he could tell his son was no longer breathing when he was put on the gurney to go into the ambulance. So essentially, Austin was dying in his brother's arms, this person that was so closely bonded to him where he felt like he was one with Austin. And my heart just hurts for him that he had to go through that. When officers arrived, before they even asked Karmelo any questions about what had happened, Karmelo out loud said, "I was protecting myself." This is when the officer told another officer that he had the alleged suspect, but then Karmelo corrects him saying, "I'm not alleged, I did it." Okay. So as the officer walks Karmelo to the police car, Karmelo was apparently very emotional and was saying things like, he put his hands on me, I told him not to do that, was hysterically crying. And I feel like at this point, I think everything that had just happened was starting to set in for Karmelo. Maybe the adrenaline was starting to wear off and he was coming to terms with what he had done. I don't know, but when he was in the cop car, he was asking if Austin was going to be okay and continued to make statements to the officers saying, could this be considered self-defense? I mean, this is a kid who just severely injured someone, and I'm not sure if he knew that Austin had actually passed away by this point, but sounds to me he was extremely emotional, probably has so much rushing through his head, and already knows he made a big mistake, because why even bring up the self-defense comment? The officer also notated in his report that when he was assisting Karmelo into the police car, he did notice that Karmelo had blood on his left middle finger, so he made sure to take a picture to submit into evidence. Another officer would also find the weapon on the floor in one of the rows of the stadium, where he ended up putting a big blue tarp on top of it to try and preserve the crime scene as much as possible, because for one, it again was raining heavily outside, and two, he noticed there was blood on the knife, so obviously they want to preserve that as well. Karmelo was then taken to Frisco PD jail, charged with first-degree murder, and is being held on a $1 million bond.
This person made a bad choice, and it affected both his family and my family forever. It's a very unfortunate thing. But I know exactly what was happening. His brother was there who tried to save him, and he died in his arms. He had leadership capabilities, loyalty, compassion, love. He lit up the room everywhere he went. People ask me, how can you forgive what to this other person? I said, I forgive the other person because the forgiveness is not for him. The forgiveness is for me, so I can have peace. His life is destroyed. My life is destroyed. Austin was the light of my life. Both my sons were amazing. They were so tight. They had the best bond. They were best friends. And now I have to focus on taking care of Hunter and always taking care of myself and his mother. And I spoke to Austin Tuesday night on the phone about he took a test. He's like, man, I made a B. I was upset. He was upset because he made a B. And I said, it's going to be all right. He said, Dad, I'm going to come over this weekend and help mow your grass because I know your arm's hurt. And I said, okay. He said, I love you, Dad. And I said, I love you too, son. And those were the last words I ever heard from him.
So have you heard about this case? I mean, just as Austin's twin brother stated, it was such a senseless act. And I still cannot wrap my head around the fact that a high schooler would have a knife with them at a track meet. And based on what the witnesses are stating that happened, Karmelo acted so fast, it was like he had just had the knife readily available, which I'm just going to say it, but it makes me feel like there was some type of premeditation. I don't know. It's just my opinion, but like, why have a knife ready to be used? And look, I know that some people carry these for self-defense reasons or utility reasons, but at a track meet, a high schooler with a knife in his bag, it seems odd to me. But Karmelo's defense team is trying to get his bond reduced. I was also seeing that Austin's dad, Jeff, has set up a GoFundMe to help his family heal, and it's actually raised over $300,000 already. And there was another one created to help support Austin's mom and brother, which has raised over $160,000. I mean, it seems like people in and out of the community are really coming together to help support his family in any way that they can. Then there apparently had been multiple GoFundMe set up for Karmelo, one of which had raised almost $300,000. Now, this sparked outrage where people were calling on the platform to stop allowing donations. So a spokesperson from GoFundMe actually spoke out, stating that their terms and service prohibit fundraisers for the legal defense of violent crimes. And as a result, these fundraisers have been removed and everyone fully refunded. Now, Karmelo's family said in a statement that they were never behind any of these accounts, which really concerns me because who were these people that would be getting all this money and what would they be doing with it, or what would it be used for? I also wanted to touch on the fact that the police department came out with a statement warning people about the spread of misinformation, where there has been a fake account created perpetrating to be the chief of police, which I'm pretty sure that's illegal, but on this account, there has been many false claims as to what happened during the altercation between Austin and Karmelo. And there's even been other fake accounts that were created fabricating information to the point where this person posted a fake photo of a document that stated Austin's cause of death was an MDMA drug overdose and that the blood loss from a stab wound is secondary, which is not true. And to further confirm this, the real report from the medical examiner's office hasn't even been released yet. So the only reason I'm bringing this up is just to inform you of the misinformation that's being spread out around there, and make sure to only trust verified accounts when it comes to the release of information on this case. As always, my heart goes out to Austin's parents and close ones as they continue to seek justice for their son. The family has also encouraged donations to a scholarship in honor of Austin at Hope Fellowship Church, which I will link below if you're interested in donating. But let's not forget that Austin's life, impact, and story matter. So that is it for today's case, which, like I said in the beginning, I do intend to follow it and let y'all know when more information comes out. I mean, I am really curious to know if this is going to go to trial or if he's going to end up taking a plea. I guess we'll see. But please, y'all, be safe out there and have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye.